Welcome to Wife Beater Friday. Now I want to ask you a question. Is your programming right for you? If you have no idea, if you're questioning that decision, this video is going to help you figure out what makes a good program, what I deem to be good programming, and hopefully give you some ideas how to implement some changes into your program to make you the baddest person on the planet. Now, the first caveat I want to say is that following any program is better than following no program. Following no program, no structure, no direction, rubbish. Pick up a generic program off the internet, brilliant. At least there's going to be some kind of, you're into a routine and plan, and working out is better than not working out, right? So you're hitting the gym 3 times, 4 times a week, you're absolutely slogging yourself to death. But the biggest problem with that, and the problem I see regularly in the gym, is that you have no plan and no structure about how to get to the goals you want, and potentially not even having any goals at all. Just keeping fit is the goal. However, not having goals, not having that accountability to push yourself to achieve those goals sometimes hinders performance as much as not having the right program or any program to help you get there. If you're like me and time is valuable and you don't have a lot of it, you're spreading yourself across loads of different businesses, family, other commitments, your time in the gym is crucial, and you want to make sure that every minute of every hour that you spend in the gym is working towards hitting whatever goals you have. And that's where a bad program or no program at all, or a program not written for you specifically, can really hinder your progress. And if you're still in the same place in 6 months' time, a year's time as you were today, well, that's just a waste of time, and we have not got that. So what does a good program look like? For me, I like to think bang for buck. You've got 1 hour to get in, get worked out, and get out. Now, in that 1 hour, we need to improve power, improve strength, improve functionality, maybe focus on some rehab stuff. We need to do some stretching potentially. We need to work on some movement patterns. We need to improve our cardiovascular fitness. If we've got a little bit of cardio in there. I know the strength training, but a little bit of cardio. But muscular endurance. Okay, so you've got 7, 8 things there that you want to work in 1 hour. So I like to think of it from a perspective of every single part of my hour's training has a focus, has a purpose. So my warm-ups, deadlift for example, we're looking at banded good mornings, we're looking at reverse lunges, we're looking at single leg RDLs, we're looking at banded work, so banded crab walks, we're looking at clamshells, things like this that we're going to improve the mobility around the hip. It's also going to improve some muscular endurance, and you're not going to get injured. You're going to get warm pretty quick. Once we've done the warm-up, we've got to get into the main body of work. So we're going to deadlift, for example, today. And then when we're deadlifting, if anything happens in the deadlift that looks a bit funky, again, I'm always thinking about how I can rehab and prehab. Some people do crazy stuff, like in my demo here, that shows that there's imbalance in the movements, but there's no pain yet. But that is only going to lead to pain. So I'm always thinking about how can I rehab and prehab those things before they become an issue. So once we've done the deadlift, may that be 2 reps, 3 reps, 5 reps, 25 reps. And then we go into what I call the finisher. So I like to then put in any kind of exercises that I think are going to challenge the cardiovascular system, going to build your muscular endurance, and maybe get the heart rate working a little bit. At the end of the day, we want to get more blood into the muscles, so we need to have a good heart to be able to do that. So once that program's all put together, off we go. Now, there's never going to be a substitute for having me in the room with you doing it. However, the next best thing, and the much more cost-effective thing for you, is to have me available if you have any issues, and being able to have a coach. So just buying a program off the internet is great, but having somebody that you can message, go, hey, I did this deadlift today, wasn't quite feeling it, something wasn't quite right, take a look. Video it, send it to me, and then I can work my magic. That's where the value comes in, having an online coach. So here's an example of a week of my Forge program. As you can see, I split up into 4 days. So we've got the deadlift, shoulders, squats, and back. I like to start with a structured warm-up. So you can see my banded cat-cows, good mornings and glute bridges really help to fire up the posterior chain, but all of these are really good for rehab, helping with lower back, making sure that the glutes are firing. If they're not, as I demonstrated in that deadlift, if there's any kind of discrepancies in the movement patterns, these warm-ups will help. Single leg work, single arm work always complements the main piece, so Bulgarian split squats, incline dumbbell bench, and goblet reverse lunges. Excellent exercises just to again just make sure that we've got everything absolutely firing perfect. Now I mentioned the rep ranges, so here's a deadlift 5x5 at 75%. We've tested this out, so we know that our max is. Same with the shoulder press, same with the box squat, same with the bent over row. And then week to week we up it. So we go 6 sets of 4 on week 2, 83%. We go with 7 sets of 3 at 90% 3 rep max. And this continues throughout every exercise for the whole cycle. So there is no stone left unturned. Always finish with a little finisher. So if the deadlift is the main piece here, some step ups and some kettlebell swings, just gives those little bit of finishing touches to the quads and the hamstrings and the glutes. Got to look good as well as be strong, right? That's what we want. So there's give that a screenshot if you want to give it a go. Equally, just drop us an email and I'll be happy to send it over to you. Now, most programs probably only have a 2-week shelf life. So if you've bought a program for 4 weeks and it's the same thing over and over again for 4 weeks, it's out of date within 2, probably quicker than that. So that's where having somebody that's experienced in delivering a system, a structure over weeks that brings in that variety. And remember that you get change adaptation through changing reps. So if we're doing 1 week we do 5 reps, the next week we do 6 reps, the next week we do 26 reps. You know, your body's never going to be able to adapt to that. The minute it starts adapting, we change it to keep it guessing, to keep it moving forward. And that's the goal, that's the aim. Now, your body doesn't really know what it's doing. It just recognizes the stress that it's feeling. So the next thing we can do is change weight. So obviously we can go heavy and low reps. We can go light and lots of reps. We can go heavy with less rest periods in between. So we challenge how quickly your body recovers in between. And any number of ways that we can mix and match. And then finally is exercise selection. You know, maybe back squat, deadlift and bench press are the 3 major work parts that we're doing for this phase. But I can train front squats. I can train kettlebell front squats. I can train goblet squats. We can do air squats. We can go slow. So we can do it for tempo. 5-second pause at the bottom. We can do box squats. We can do it, 20 different ways to squat. And what that does is it allows us to challenge the central nervous system in a way that won't fatigue it all the time. If you think like a back squat, a deadlift, those 2 exercises will fry your central nervous system, your brain and your nerves. Will absolutely destroy them if you go 95 to 100% all the time. Now, if we sub in box squats for the squats, if we do pause reps, if we do anything that changes the stimulus, then it's going to still tax us to 95 to 100% of that movement. So we're still going to get adaptation, but we're not subjecting ourselves to that huge amount of stress all the time. And that again is sensible quality programming. We talk about recovery, but recovery can be active. Now, active recovery, sitting on a bike for an hour doing some zone 2, could be some yoga classes. It could be just doing a deload week, changing everything out for stuff that you haven't done for a while, sled pushes, whatever it may be. So I headed home to finish the video and realised I hadn't put a ending into it. What an idiot. So here it is. If you're struggling with any programming issues, need a little bit of help, exercise selection, rep ranges, anything like that, I'll be happy to help. Drop a comment, drop me a PM, happy to help. Now hopefully this has helped you with some programming issues and you're now ready to go and share some serious tin in the gym. Let me know how you get on.